You want to get better at the Pokemon trading card game? Well, then this video is for you. Hey, welcome to Dark Bear Dojo. I am Nick, and today we have a question or a topic suggestion from PokeShark. So thank you very much, PokeShark, for the suggestion. And they had asked, can you make a video on how to do better at League, Cups, Challenges, Regionals, etc.? I asked if there was something in particular they wanted me to talk about, and they said mental tips, how to win more, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get right into it, but before we do, if you haven't already, do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Tells YouTube this is a good channel and other people should watch it. I have a personal goal of getting to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if we do, I have a really cool giveaway, and if you click, clicking subscribe, it's free, it takes 2 seconds, and it helps me achieve that goal, and it would mean a ton to me, so thank you very much for your support. I've recorded this video, this is the third time, because the first 2 times were like 40 minutes each, because I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things that I want to say, and I'm going to try my best to keep this short. Now, you might be wondering, Nick, you are not, a top tier player, you're not winning regionals, who are you to give advice on this? And I think I'm a pretty capable player. I think I've made day 2 at regionals, I've top cut League Cups, I've done well at challenges and locals and all that kind of stuff, so I'm a capable player. I'm probably a little bit above average, but yes, you're right, I'm not an elite player. I do think this is a community effort, so I want to know from you in the comments below, what are your thoughts, what are your suggestions, what steps have you taken to improve, and we can work together as a community. So that's my little preface for this whole video. Now let's get into my thoughts. The very first thing that I think you need to do is establish goals, but not just any goals. You need to set up SMART goals. SMART being an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. You can't just say, I want to get better at the Pokemon trading card game. I want to win more. What does that look like? You get a little more specific. I want to have a positive record at a major tournament. I want to make day 2. I want whatever. Like, make it an actual goal. You can have multiple of them. Right? You can have short-term SMART goals. You can have long-term SMART goals. Whatever. You can have as many as you want. But make sure they are specific. Make sure they're measurable. How can I measure my progress and that I'm actually achieving what I say I'm going to? This could be making a log, keeping track of games, things like that. It needs to be achievable. I need to actually be able to do it. I can't say I want to win the World's Championship if I don't go to Worlds, right? It needs to be an achievable goal. And this is very, very personal to you. Your goal might be to make day 2, and that's perfectly okay. Your goal might be to top cut a tournament. It doesn't matter what, for the purposes of this video, what the goal is doesn't matter. It just has to be achievable. I'm not going to turn around and say, I just started playing Pokemon today. It's my very first day. I'm going to win Worlds, or I want to win Worlds. That could be a great long-term goal, absolutely. But know that it's long-term, and that's where time-based is. It also has to be relevant, right? It should be in line with what you're doing and all that kind of stuff, and your daily life. Anyway, there's a whole thing about SMART goals. You can Google it. I think it's really important. The best way to ensure that you achieve these goals is by having someone hold you accountable. Tell someone about your goals, your time frame, how you're going to accomplish them, all that kind of stuff. Because if you have somebody checking in on you and be like, oh, hey, how's your SMART goals going? How many games have you played this week? Whatever, you're more likely to accomplish what you set out to do. So if you have a friend who you play with, or family or partner or whatever, tell them, hey, let's do this together. Let's both make some SMART goals. They don't have to be these grand, plans. It can be whatever you want, and then exchange them. Keep each other open, honest, and accountable about these goals. I guarantee you will see better results just by doing this alone. But we have a few more things we can do. If we want to win more, we have to do the work leading up to the event, which means preparation and practice. We need to know what the meta looks like, what the top 3 to 5 decks are. Not only what they are, yeah, sure, anyone can tell you Charizard's a top deck, but how does a Charizard deck function? What's its deck list generally look like? What are the common counts of cards? These are all things you have to be able to know, because if you run across a Charizard and you have no idea what they're trying to do, what cards they play, the strategies and all, it's going to be a lot harder for you to navigate that matchup and to, pick the best line of play if you don't know what to expect from that deck. So find, the top 3 to 5 decks. You can get a skeleton list of those decks through things like Trainer Hill. Great website. I use it all the time. Build this, look at the skeleton list for decks, for Charizard, for Gardevoir, for Chien-Pao, whatever the decks are, and there you go, start to learn them. And if you're not sure what the top 3 to 5 decks are, well, things like Trainer Hill and Limitless have meta shares for you. You can look at online tournaments, which is always it's not always the best online tournaments, but it's something if you don't know where else to start. But you can also look at previous regionals to see what decks were really popular, and you can usually find deck lists for like the top 16, 32 or whatever. You can find those deck lists most of the time and start to get an idea of how they look like. Play against them, know them, do your homework prior to the event, and it'll make it a lot easier. The next thing is that we have to be able to play a good deck. And when I say good, that doesn't necessarily mean the best deck in format. It means the deck that you're best equipped to play. Whether that's the deck that you've been playing the longest, it's the deck you like the most. Generally, the deck you like the most ends up being the one that you play the most because you like it the most. That's the deck that you're probably going to do best with. Sure, you can look at a format and say, this, top players, big content creators, the community at large, whatever, all think this deck is the best deck in the format. So I'm going to buy those cards 5 days before the tournament, and I'm going to get a couple of practice games in, and then I'm going to go to this tournament, and I'm going to do well because it's the best deck in the format, right? Probably not. Playing the deck that you know means you know the matchups, you know the card counts, you understand how to navigate bad hands better than just by playing what is might be considered the best deck in format. So generally speaking, playing what you know, again, it does not have to be a top 2 or top 3 meta deck, even though there's a reason those are the the most commonly played decks, and the decks that you tend to see in Top Cut the most is because they're generally very, very good. Yes, the person piloting it does make a difference, but still, your homebrew rogue deck might be a really good pick. There was a time Lightning Box, in the Silver Tempest format, was a pretty good deck, and it was very under the radar for a while, and it could do well because someone thought of it, built it, and said this is going to work really well for this meta because Lugia is like 30% of the meta. Palkia is pretty popular. A lot of things are weak to lightning. Flying Pikachu's weak to lightning. You have all these things that you could take advantage of. Leverage the fact that you're taking these big up trades with single prize Pokemon. It was a good pick. So just because you have a homebrew rogue thing doesn't mean it's bad, right? It just means other people don't know about it, which can be an advantage, but it also might mean that you're using cards that aren't the strongest and you might be fighting an uphill battle. Doesn't mean you can't win, just means it might be a little harder. The next thing, and we're just talking here, understanding your matchups. Now, when we talk about matchups and win percentages, most matchups are somewhere between 40 and 60%, right? Most matchups are pretty close. Me personally, I don't care about the matchups where I lose 10% of the time, and I don't care about the matchups that I win 90% of the time. Those are irrelevant to me in terms of my play testing. I might play a handful of games against those decks just so I kind of know what to do, especially the one where I win 90% of the time. The games I win 10% of the time, probably not going to bother. It feels like a waste of time for me personally. The games I'm going to focus on the most are the ones where I have a 45% win rate, a 50% win rate, 52% win rate. Because they're so even, if I get really good at that matchup, then I can tilt the win rate in my favor because I know it really well. maybe if the deck that I have like a 45, 48, 52% win rate against is a very popular deck, it might be worth teching for. The deck that I'm 50-50 split, that in terms of win rate, that has a 2% meta share, I don't care about. It's a waste of deck space to tech for something that you're probably not going to see. Now, if that win rate is, if you auto lose to Mew unless you have Drapion, okay, maybe, right? Are there other things that you can use Drapion for? Can you power up Drapion? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, when you think about tech cards, and this is not coming from me, this is coming from Tord. Generally, he was saying that he will pick the tech card that is maybe weaker but can be used in more matchups. Instead of having the one ultimate hyper specific powerful tech card against one deck, maybe I'll take something that's pretty good against that deck, but also could be kind of useful against other things too. This way, in every matchup that's not the one that it's used for, it's not a dead card. So think about things like that. When you pick your deck, when you play your deck, focus on the matchups that are close and relevant. Again, I don't care about something that's 2% of the meta. It's not important. I'm going to care about the things that are 10, 12, 15, 18% of the meta, 20% of the meta especially. Like if I was going into an online tournament today, the thing I would care most about is Roaring Moon, because I know it's the most popular. There's a good chance I'm going to see it. I'm not going to care so much about the whatever, single strike Lugia. My deck I love, not very popular right now. I'm probably not going to worry about it. So that's something also to consider. The very last thing I want to talk about is how you hold yourself mentally and physically during a tournament. Personally, I try not to put a lot of pressure on myself during a tournament I have to win the next game. I got to win this next one. I can't lose. But all you do is stress yourself out. I also like to make sure that all my stuff is planned prior. All my travel arrangements, all my accommodations. I make sure that I have things like food, water, Advil, Pepto, all that kind of stuff in my book bag, at all times. I have a pen, a notepad, I have a backup charger with a cord. I have all the stuff I need. This way I never have to worry when I'm actually at the venue. I have everything I need in my book bag with me at all times. Now I can focus on the games, but again, I don't try to put a ton of pressure on myself. Like I said, I don't want to sit there and be like, I have to win. If I lose, I'm out, and then I came here for nothing. Don't do that. When I went to Knoxville, my goal was to make day 2, right? That was my big goal, make day 2. But I told myself, if I don't make day 2, it's fine. I don't care. I have a plan for Sunday. I'm gonna go hiking. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go on Saturday, play in the tournament. Doesn't matter what happens. Sunday, I'm going hiking. And I told myself that. And now, going into lunch, I'm 2-2. Whatever, man. I'm just here. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself. I'm meeting people. I'm hanging out with friends. We're playing Pokemon. It's a good time. I'm in a new city. I never got to explore. I got to throw rocks at the Sun Sphere. That was the Simpsons thing. I didn't actually do that. It's okay. We're not defining ourselves based on our wins. Next thing you know, I'm 3-2. Now I'm 4-2. Now I'm going into round 7, 4-2. And my friends are like, oh man, if you win these next 2 games, you're going to make day 2 if you ID round 9. Okay, yeah, I'm not really worried about it. I'm going to go hiking tomorrow. Now I'm 5-2. And now this is the thing I really want to talk about. I am 5-2 going into round 8. My opponent gave me so much information that they really not only didn't need to, but shouldn't have. And this is not a criticism of my opponent. I'm not saying anything bad about them. They were a nice person. They just told me things that you shouldn't tell your opponent. When you tell someone, when you give information, it's not always the words you speak, it's the manner in which you say it and your body language as you say it. So, I know my opponent is drawing really poorly because they're sitting there, and this is not an exaggeration, they're sitting there like this. Pass. Like they're just sitting so defeated, so depressed that, you know, they're talking about how I'm the fourth or fifth Lugia person they played today, and of course I'm the only one that played Urshifu. Why would anyone? No one else had Urshifu. I'm the only one. So you know what I did? I put a second Urshifu into play because I know that they're struggling to deal with it. So I'm gonna make it even harder. If they somehow deal with the one, I'm gonna deal with the other, and I'm gonna VMAX one of them because it has a massive amount of HP, and it's gonna be really hard for them to KO. Okay. They got 8, 7, 8, 9 cards in hand, but they're not playing anything, right? I'm paying attention to what they're actually doing. They're not doing anything. Their top decks, they are telling me by just sitting. They're getting visibly frustrated. I understand that it sucks to lose. You know, you're winning in to make day 2. You picked a good deck. It was working all day, or for the most part, right? And now you lose because somebody's playing something so ridiculous that no one else is doing like that. You know, you hit the 2%, the 1% that people tell you not to tech for, right? I said it before. Don't tech for it. It does happen. It's unfortunate, but you have to be able to deal with it. And by giving me all that information, all I did was set up more Urshifu. That's all I did. And I never played a Marnie because I'm not going to. They're telling me their hand is bad. I'm not going to give them a new one. So don't give your opponent unnecessary information. Don't draw them like, oh man, my hand is so dead. I'm top decking nothing. I can't find what I'm looking for. Don't do any of that. Give as little information as possible. This doesn't mean don't be nice. It doesn't mean don't talk to them. You can, oh, how was your traveling? How long are you staying for? Is this your first time here? Like, you can still have friendly chit chat and banter, but it doesn't mean you have to tell them about your board and your deck. As I was talking, I realized that there is actually one more thing, and it kind of goes along with not putting pressure on yourself, but it's not blaming your losses strictly on RNG. Yes, will there be times you lose because you dead draw? You have 7 cards left in deck, and you know, you have Greninja and a Comfey, and there's a really good chance you should find the Mirage Gate you need. You have 1 more in deck. You're going to see 4 of the 7 cards. You should be able to find it, and you don't. It happens. There's going to be times where you Iona your opponent down to 1, you have game next turn, and they find Boss's Orders off the top deck. It happens, right? Those things are unavoidable. Now, I know it's hard to lose like that, but you still should look back at that game and ask yourself, was there something that I did wrong that allowed them to get to this point? Did I play perfectly? And the answer might be yes. And if you did and you still lost like that, I'm sorry. It happens. It's the nature of card games. But more often than not, there's going to be a play where you said, maybe I should have Marnied them or Iona them earlier or later instead of doing this. Maybe I should have bossed up this instead of that, or whatever the case may be. Think about your play, reevaluate any mistakes you might have made. I make mistakes all the time. It's okay. That's how you learn. It's how you grow. And once you play a game, forget about it. Forget about last round. Don't worry about next round. Focus on the game that's happening in front of you. If you win that game, excellent. Move on to the next one feeling good. If you lose that game, okay, no problem. Move on to the next game with more information, better decisions, and win the next one. I don't care what's happening next round. I don't care what's happening at the tables around me. I don't care that the person's next to me is calling a judge. I don't care that my friend is 6-0. And none of it matters. The game that I'm focusing on is the thing that matters. I don't care that I lost last round because my opponent top deck boss at the last second. I can't believe it. Let it go. Let it go. It does not help you now. And thinking about next round won't help you now either. Focus on what's happening and you'll do better. So there you go. A bunch of seemingly random thoughts on how to play better, how to win more. And a lot of it is the preparation beforehand and your mental fortitude while you're there. You can't sit there and wallow in your losses, and you can't get overexcited about the wins that you might get next round. You have to stay strong mentally and focus on the game in front of you. So I hope you found this useful, informative, whatever. It went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but you know, it's gonna happen. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this in the video, in the comments. I want to know your thoughts and everything, your approach to tournaments, your preparation, all that kind of stuff. Let me know, and that's gonna do it for us today. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. I want to give a special shout out to the YouTube members: Black Wins, Mike the Highest, Fernando Ortiz, Chin Pokemon, and Eric N. Thank you all so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. And if you want to become a channel member, you can go ahead and click the channel member button somewhere at the bottom of the page. I'm not really sure. I haven't done it myself.